All of this as Trump faces his second brush with death via a gunman shooting at him in Palm Beach, Florida, just as happened in Pennsylvania, neither of whom were Haitian or any kind of immigrant, both of whom are white, American, Trump-supporting men with guns.
What I mean is, look, when you've had this kind of language about somebody be the underpinning of a campaign for years and intensely for the last several months, the only way to unwind it is for the people who've been saying it, chiefly the president and the vice president, to go on TV and say, you know what? We went too far, and what we said, honestly, is not true. The country will not end.
Okay, I think the Democrats will tamp down their language about Trump. The moment Trump tamps down his language about the Democrats, about immigrants, about people of color, about women, and not a moment before.
What about how many times are we going to shoot at him?
Is your argument literally
Wait a minute, but
that you are not under threat unless somebody directly takes a shot at you? Is that actually what you're saying? Do you have access to Secret Service files about how many threats Harris and Biden have received over the past year? How many threats Barack Obama, the first black president, received for 8 years while he was in the White House? Do you have those Secret Service files, or are you just out here talking because somebody was caught in the bushes on Saturday?
Somebody.
If you want something done, if you want to get away from this violence and hatred, the clearest thing to do is to take away the weapons that these people are using to cause the violence and hatred. Rhetoric does not kill people. Guns do.
So you're okay.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. We got to talk about the mainstream liberal media, because these people are showing us just overtly that they're not concerned about facts. They're not concerned about reality. They're not concerned about the former president's life, okay, at all, okay? They want to be able to say whatever they want about the former president. They don't care about the consequences. And after the second failed assassination attempt on President Trump, these people are going full-blown mental gymnastics in order to justify continuing to incite violence against the president of the United States, right? This is what they want to do. What you guys just heard there on MSNBC from Joyless Reed is the claim that the shooters were Trump supporters, even though there's no evidence that they were Trump supporters. And we actually know for a fact, we know for certain that the latest shooter or gunman, because apparently he didn't actually really shoot at the president. Allegedly he didn't. I don't know. But I'm just saying, apparently this guy, according to Joy Reid, is a Trump supporter, although there's evidence and proof that this guy supported Joe Biden, right? This guy was a Democrat. Okay, he was very pro-Ukraine and very anti-Trump. But according to Joy Reid, he's a Trump supporter. Wow. Again, it's almost as if MSNBC is not news, right? They are propaganda, okay? And they certainly, again, don't care about the attempts on Trump's life, because they platformed Hillary Clinton last night to basically go on and on and on about how the media must continue to say that Trump is such a dangerous threat.
And I don't understand why it's so difficult for the press to have a consistent narrative about how dangerous Trump is. The late, great journalist Harry Evans, one time said that, journalists should, really try to achieve objectivity. And by that, he said, I mean, they should cover the object. Well, the object in this case is Donald Trump, his demagoguery, his danger to our country and the world, and stick with it.
Yeah, so no chill whatsoever. No chill whatsoever from the left. Okay, Hillary Clinton said, no, stick with it. Stick with this rhetoric that, hey, you can argue, you can make an argument with actual evidence. It's inciting violence against the former president. This is what they're doing. Now, you have some people, some Democrats, some liberals that are not as comfortable being as overt as Hillary Clinton is being about how they just shouldn't give a damn about the consequences of their rhetoric. No, we shouldn't care. Just do it anyways. No, there's some Democrats that are taking another route, right? They're trying to mental gymnastics their way through justifying continuing to demonize the former president, although the demonization is causing acts of violence to happen against the former president of the United States. They're saying, no, you don't understand. It's actually both sides, right? It's both sides. It's not just one side, except the problem with the both sides argument is that we're not seeing the same level of political violence on both sides. In fact, it's not even close. We're seeing much more political violence from the left than we are from the right. So if the both sides argument was true, okay, and legitimate, then we should be seeing equal levels of violence. But that's not what we're seeing at all, okay? Furthermore, what they revert to after the both sides thing is kind of shot down, they say, well, we should just ban guns, right? Let's ban guns, and that is going to stop the former president from being almost assassinated. We just got to ban guns, right? So they go back to basically liberal policies, okay? This is where they're at this point, right? It's come full circle to, well, let's just ban guns, okay? So without further ado, I want to react to the CNN panel where they're going to go through that mental gymnastics and they're going to basically try to blame both sides, and then they'll say, well, we need to ban guns. And this just shows desperation from the left to not take accountability and responsibility for the attempted assassinations on the former president. So without further ado, let's get into it.
There wasn't a lot of talk.
I think there's a level of violent rhetoric that has been directed at him, but that's happened for 10 years.
It's been normalized, but it's been normalized and adopted as part of one party's platform for president this year. The country will cease to exist if Donald Trump wins. There will be no more democracy.
Joe Biden that may have been the Biden campaign. Listen, hey, look.
No. Why don't I get to finish? Everybody gets to finish.
No, go ahead.
Scott, let's let Scott finish, and then I have something to say.
The Constitution won't exist. There'll be a bloodbath. He's going to be a dictator. When you effectively radicalize millions of people into believing that if an electoral outcome doesn't go our way, they're no longer going to be living in the country they thought they were, what do you expect to happen? Now, I agree with you. There is too much hate speech. I'm in total agreement with you, and I hear what you're saying. But I have to say, when I see what Democratic politicians say about Donald Trump, when I see what Democratic commentators say about Donald Trump, and their platform is built on a bunch of lies, frankly, that are designed to radicalize a political base, it makes me wonder, how much do they really care about the violence that you and I both agree is terrible?
Well, they don't, right? I mean, that's the reality, Scott. They don't. And see, what would make Scott's point stronger here, and I really wish that they would bring this stuff up, is to say, listen, the modern day uptick in political violence in this country started under Obama, right? So this idea that it's just one side is ridiculous because we started to see this stuff under Obama. And then once Trump decided to run for president, you had the left-wing violence escalate due to rhetoric from the media, from the left, people like Hillary Clinton, okay? And that led to violence that happened on election day. A lot of people thought that the election was stolen by Russia, right? That Trump is Vladimir Putin's butt buddy, okay? And when Trump was inaugurated, there was riots, vandalism, violence in D.C. as Trump was being inaugurated by Hillary Clinton supporters, right? That happened, okay? Now, throughout Trump's presidency, a vast majority of the political violence that we saw came from the left, okay? Came from the left, especially in 2020. So you got BLM, Antifa, Roe v. Wade, the pro-Palestinians, okay? All of these groups are leftists. They're all leftists. They're committing acts of violence because of the left and what the left is saying and what the left is doing. The Democrats and their rhetoric. So don't sit here and try to both sides something that's not really a both sides issue. It's not. It's not. But the reality is that these people don't care. They don't care about political violence when it suits them. This is why they didn't say anything about the Roe v. Wade rioters. This is why they didn't say anything about the BLM rioters. This is why CNN was saying fiery but mostly peaceful. They were bending over backwards trying to justify it as cities burned, right? They said you were racist and you were a bigot if you didn't agree with it. If you didn't agree with this black neighborhood being destroyed, you were racist, right? This is what they were saying. Yeah, so Scott Jennings is getting to the heart of all of this, which is that they don't care, right? In a lot of cases, they agree with it if it suits their agenda, right? If it helps them win, they outright agree with it. But there are so many examples of just the overwhelming political violence in this country coming from the left. You have to bring this up in every conversation. Every conversation, you have to remind them that a vast majority of the political violence we've seen have come from leftist groups. They just have.
I have that same question, for Trump, because you're talking about, okay, this is Donald Trump on September 10th. That's 6 days ago. If she ever got elected, she'd change it. It will be the end of our country. She's Marxist. He shared a social media video of Joe Biden tied up in the back of a pickup truck. He's called his political opponents vermin. Trump is not the best messenger for this, But isn't
you're a pretty good messenger when you get shot and then nearly get shot again. I think that makes you a fairly credible messenger.
For what?
Here's the conversation I think that Tim is trying to have, which is that this has been a political climate in the country writ large for almost a decade of heightened, political animosity.
Since Obama, right? Trump was not a major political figure under Obama. So who's to blame for the violence that happened under Obama, right? Does Trump take blame for that too? But see, here's the problem with this argument from Abby Phillip, right? Who, again, is sticking her little opinion in this, okay? Instead of letting the people that are supposed to debate. No, she's trying to tip the scales here, right? This is what she does every single night and claims to be a so-called journalist. But anyways, the problem is that Trump does not have the mainstream liberal media, like the whole media apparatus behind him, repeating the same things over and over and over again about how Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are threats to democracy, right? That's the big difference. It's not just Democrats saying it, but it's being amplified in the media to the masses, right? It's one thing for politicians to go back and forth with each other, right? And to say all types of crazy stuff about each other. That happens all the time. That's been happening for the longest time. But in modern day politics, we're witnessing something we've never seen before, which is that the media as a whole is on one side, right? All the networks outside of Fox News are on one side. They are on the side of Democrats, and they have abandoned journalism, right? They have now decided that they're going to try to make Trump out to be a threat no matter what he says, okay? For example, look at the whole bloodbath thing. In context, what Trump said was not a threat of violence at all, okay? No reasonable person would even interpret it that way. But that's not what the mainstream liberal media did, right? They took what he said and basically tried to make it a threat of violence. That's what I'm talking about, right? So when you have the Democrats saying things and then you have the liberal media weaponizing their title as journalist, okay, the trust that they're supposed to have to be objective when they're abandoning that and they're just overtly saying, oh, yeah, Trump is a threat. What he's saying is dangerous, yada, yada, yada. That is what amplifies things. And that's why you're seeing most of the political violence on one side of the aisle. Well, why is that? Because it's supposed to be both sides, right? According to them. But why are you only seeing it on one side? Well, the main reason why is because it's been amplified by the media, right? That's what's happening. Look at what's happening with the Springfield thing, right? The mainstream liberal media, they're still claiming that Trump and J.D. Vance are responsible for bomb threats in Springfield when the governor came out and said that all the bomb threats were hoaxes. But yet that didn't stop the media. That does not stop the media at all for repeating the same falsehood, right? The same lie that these bomb threats are being caused by J.D. Vance and Trump.
With you. It's, I think we should all question the rhetoric. The problem is that Donald Trump, who I think, if you were doing hurricane categories, he's on hurricane category 5, whereas the other side might be a 2. And Donald Trump and J.D. Vance are not questioning their rhetoric. Right now, because of their rhetoric, because of what he said in that debate, there's been 33 bombing threats in Springfield, Ohio. That would not have happened but for this false conspiracy theory being spread by the vice presidential and presidential Republican candidate. And those Haitians in Springfield, Ohio, and those students and the people that are victims of these threats and everything that's going on there don't have 24/7 Secret Service, right? They're on their own.
Yeah, so when you have the media allowing their commentators, right, propagandists, to come on their platform and to basically make false claims like this, okay, saying Trump and J.D. Vance are responsible for bomb threats, some liberal lunatic is going to listen to that, right? And they're going to say, well, Trump is a threat. He's causing bomb threats, even though there's no evidence that that's the case, right? It was already debunked, but they don't care. They're just going to keep repeating it because this is the narrative now. And instead of apologizing and correcting themselves, no, they just double down on it, right? They triple down on it, right? Same thing they did with Charlottesville, right? That hoax. Very fine people on both sides, right? Everybody knows in context what Trump was actually saying. He had condemned the so-called neo-Nazis and all those other people, right? But according to the media, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much Trump condemns white supremacy or political violence. He's still causing it all, right? Doesn't matter. Okay, but when Kamala Harris, when they condemn political violence, oh well, they're condemning it, so therefore, they're relieved of all responsibility. Trump doesn't get that benefit of the doubt. He doesn't get that.
And a lot of people deserve blame for that, but Trump is not without, Trump's hands are not clean in this.
Are they? I'm just asking.
I mean,
you're not saying it, are you? Because in my view, both candidates have actually said.
I guess I'm going to be the only one out here that's not going to blame Donald Trump for his two near assassinations.
No.
I mean, honestly,
it's not about.
He's the one being shot at. He's a target. He's not. He can't even walk outside of his own house.
We started the conversation by saying,
at his own peril.
We started the conversation by saying that this is not about assigning political blame. Trump is the one today assigning political blame. He is assigning political blame.
Do you think he's earned any right to assign or ascribe blame to the two attempts on his life?
Wait, so if you get shot at, you can say that somebody should shoot my opponents? That's the rule. If somebody shoots at you, you can be like, oh, somebody should shoot at them. Because if you look at Trump's tweet today.
Well, I mean, nobody said that, right? Nobody said that there should be retaliation or anything like that. Again, this is just a straight up straw man, right, from this guy. Again, this is like the second dumbest black dude on television, okay, outside of Keith Boykins, okay? I'm so serious.
What he said today was that Harris was an enemy from within and that she will destroy the country if she gets elected. Now, personally, I do not feel comfortable having yet another conversation about the horrible gun violence in this country without talking about the guns, because I agree with Tim. I want this political violence to stop. And to me, I would propose a solution to this. I call it the Protect Trump at all costs assault weapons ban. If we want to protect our political leaders, if we want to protect people who don't have an elite fighting force protecting them 24/7, one of the best things we can do, not just for Trump, but for all potential victims of gun violence, is to ban assault weapons, to ban the AR-14, and to ban the weapons of terror that these crazy people use to menace not just our leaders, but everybody else in the country.
Okay, so again, there's just so many things that are just factually just not true about what this guy said. I don't even know where to start. First and foremost, banning guns is not going to stop assassination attempts, right? If this guy and what he's saying was correct, then how did Shinzo Abe, the former prime minister of Japan, get assassinated? Because Japan has some of the strictest gun laws in the world, but yet the assassin, he made a homemade gun, right? He made a homemade gun and used it to assassinate a former prime minister. Now, according to Elie Mystal, that would be impossible, okay? If you just ban assault rifles, you just ban more guns. It would be impossible to do that, right? That's simply not the case. Also, on top of that, weapons of war, again, are not generally being used on people when you talk about the shootings happening in the United States. Like, for example, the mainstream liberal media keeps calling the weapon that the second would-be assassin used an AK-47. No, it was actually an SKS, okay, which is a semi-automatic rifle, okay? Now, that guy, before had been convicted of possessing a so-called weapon of mass destruction, an automatic weapon, I believe. But again, those are already illegal in this country, right? For the most part, okay? I mean, it's very hard to get an automatic weapon, not completely banned, just a lot of red tape and very expensive, okay? So, yeah, I mean, we've already basically restricted those. And furthermore, even under the so-called assault weapons ban, the weapon that this guy used wouldn't even be banned because it had a fixed stock, no pistol grip. The only thing that would have been illegal under the assault weapons ban would have been the magazine. That's it. So this weapon wouldn't even have been banned, right? So again, these people, they're just speaking through ignorance, right? That's what they're doing, right? Because they don't want to have the real conversation. This is a distraction from the real conversation. They don't want to take accountability, so they both sides it. They try to blame guns. They want to blame everybody except themselves, who clearly are responsible for what happened because this guy used the same exact rhetoric that these people use on a daily basis about Trump.
Guns don't have radical ideology, but human beings do.
Okay, so ideologies kill people, not guns.
And this guy setting up shop in the...
Absolutely, right? Communism, okay, which is probably this guy's ideology, has killed a lot of people, millions of people throughout history, okay?
Bushes outside of a golf course, it wasn't the gun that made him do it.
Yeah, the mental instability.
Something got to this guy.
These people, both of these people were mentally unstable, and nobody prevented them from
He believed
buying
Donald Trump needed to be eliminated. And he almost did it. Thank God for the Secret Service.
Yes.
How many more attempts are we going to, how many more are we going to have?
That's the
We're already
point.
at 2.
I think that's an important point. We've had guns for a long time, unfortunately. There's always been a lot of mentally unstable people in the country.
Yes.
So what is it that's going on right now? And
There
I
are a
think
lot more guns now.
It is an issue. There aren't that many more guns than there were
there
a
are.
year
Yes,
ago.
there are.
A year
There are
ago.
more guns now.
When you look at where we are now, though, I mean, this is clearly a Secret Service issue. This is a failure, I think, on their part to not identify and then blame a slanted roof and shrubbery.
I think that you're exactly right. I mean, look, that's such an important part of this conversation. Again, there are issues here. There are issues at play. But I am actually genuinely baffled by the choice to, within 24 hours of this thing happening, make it about, blaming Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, who immediately condemned it and saying that they put this crazy guy up to this.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's kind of like you guys blame Trump for what happened on January 6th, even though he called for peace multiple times. He also said, make your voices heard peacefully, right? He never called for any type of violence. He was overtly against violence that day, but yet you still blame him for it, right? You see how that works, right? You see how that works. So when it happens to Trump, when Trump denounces white supremacy and these people come out here and still blame him for white supremacy, right? Yeah, they're totally fine with that. Okay, that's cool. But in this case, if Trump says, hey, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and their rhetoric are at fault for what happened, if they condemn it, no, you're not supposed to blame them, right? It's out of bounds to do that. Again, these people, they make me sick. They really do.
He's allowed to get freaked out. He has gotten shot at. So I'm kind of okay with that.
Of course he's allowed to be freaked out, but to say without any evidence that this was because
he should have shut up, right? He should have shut up because that doesn't help. And I think if you're being politically honest the way I want to be politically honest right now, this has come from both sides of them. When we talk about the enemy of the state, this country will never be the same. Joe Biden has done that just as many times as Donald Trump has done that.
There's only one side of the political aisle that openly on their platforms, on liberal media, okay, legacy media platforms, that have platform people openly calling for the elimination of Trump. This is the type of stuff that's aired frequently, all day, every day on MSNBC, way too often on CNN and on these other networks. You don't see that on Fox News. You don't see Fox News platforming the loonies, right? You don't see them doing that, right? But MSNBC will platform the loonies on the left all day long. That's the difference. And that's what's not being talked about, why these people continue to claim it's both sides. No, it's not both sides. The reason why it's not both sides, again, is because you're not seeing the same level of violence. It's not even close on both sides. It's only one side, really. Okay, and also on top of that, there's only one side in which their extreme rhetoric is being amplified by the media. Okay, and that is the Democrats. It is their side. So until these people acknowledge this and change their ways, this is the reality that we're going to live in. I just find it amazing how they're trying to mental gymnastics their way through taking accountability and responsibility for what happened. But they don't want to, because they want to continue to say whatever they want to say about Trump and how he's a threat, because ultimately they don't care. They don't care about what happens to Trump. And ultimately all they care about is Democrats maintaining power and control. So, hey, let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.